Do you have a good book launch plan? What is a good book launch strategy? Today, we are answering those questions with a special guest speaker. You won't want to miss this. Hello, everyone. April Cox here with Self-Publishing Made Simple, where we take you from beginning to end of the self-publishing process and beyond. If you're wondering what goes into a successful book launch, you're not alone. New authors are always wanting to launch and make sure that their sales get started strong. That's what makes Amazon recognize you and get your book lots of extra traffic. So this is an important part of the process. And today we have a special guest speaker that's going to share her knowledge about this important and timely topic. The launch formula with Jenn Foster. Jenn is an amazing contact that I made with Elite Online Publishing. She is a Wall Street Journal and USA Today international best-selling author, co-owner of Elite Online Publishing, the CEO of Biz Social Boom, and she helps business owners of all sizes thrive in today's technical world. I would ask you to join me in welcoming Jenn Foster. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jenn.
Thanks for having me. Well, I'm excited to talk about the launch formula today. And I'm excited that all you authors either have your book or are getting your book ready to launch. So I'm really excited for you and for you to become a best-selling author. So that's what we're going to talk today about, is how to become a bestseller and what the launch formula looks like. And I know that April teaches a little bit of a different strategy with Kindle Select, but I'm going to teach you what we do with our authors. So today we are going to be talking about your book launch formula, and a lot of it is your book launch team. So that's going to be what we're going to talk about first. So a book launch team, if you don't know what that is, I think all of us know what sales are about. And we all know that when we create something for like a product, and then we go find the people to buy it, it's kind of hard, right? And we see products fail, and books are the same way, when they don't have an audience or a group of people that want the product, right? And so the very first thing we have to do is create that audience or create that team of people who want to buy our product, right? And I'm sure you guys have seen little widgets or whatever people make, and then you wonder why they didn't sell. And it's because they didn't create a community first, or a group of people who wanted that item, right? Or it didn't solve a big enough problem, right? So children's books and nonfiction books, which I deal a lot with, are kind of similar, where you do have to start creating your team of people who are going to support your book before the book is ready to be released to the world. And so that's kind of what your book launch team is. It's a group of people who are going to help you to have success, right? It could be fans, it could be your blog readers, it could be people from your mastermind group, it could be targeted people that you have seeked out to come and help you with your book launch. And the most important thing is, when you have your book, is to have that launch team. And so with that launch team, you have to create a community. So that's where the social media comes in, or, blogs, or having Zoom calls like April does, and having the groups on Facebook. That's always a good too, or LinkedIn, depending on where your people are, right? They could be on Instagram, right? They could be in lots of different places. So you want to build connections and create connections so that you can become bestseller when you release your book on Amazon. And so when do you start? When do you start getting your launch team? Well, right now is when you start getting your launch team together. From the moment you're beginning to write your book, you want to start gathering those people and getting those names. And what that means is you want to create their name, their email. So their first name, their email. You can do a phone number too, because sometimes you can do a texting campaign, so you can text them. But for sure, you want their email and their name. And that's the number one thing. So you probably are asking, how many people are on a launch team? Well, it really all depends on how many sales we need for your bestseller campaign, right? So depending on which Kindle category you're in, is going to determine how many book sales you need on a given day. And it changes every day, right? We know Kindle, we know Amazon, it changes all the time. And so what I say is try and get around 50 people. And if you can get up to 500, most of our authors will get around 200, maybe 150 people on their launch team. And this is the team that's going to help you to become bestseller. Okay. So you want to make sure that they are in communication with you. So here's how we get started. So before determining who you want on your team, then we got to set the number first. So that's what you want to do is write down how many people do you want on your launch team. You have to set that target number. So, if you wanted to start low, you can start at 50. You may only have 10, but you want to put that target out there so you can start getting these names and emails. Now, some of you probably have websites, so you're getting your website built for your book. And if you do have an author website, that's where you collect this name and email, right? It's the opt-in on your website so that you can start gathering these people's names and emails. Of course, you can just start your own spreadsheet and start putting them in, but that's how you gather more. So here is how you can select your team members. So of course, your family and friends can help you. And of course, don't go to those family members who think you can't succeed and are always telling you can't do it. Don't go to those people. Only go to the family and friends who you know are your main supporters, who want to see you succeed. Because I'm sure you all know that we have people in our lives who, when we're succeeding, they try and come up with some reason to say you're not doing well or trying to push us down, right? So we want to make sure we're only talking and targeting and putting the people who are actually going to support us. And then your target readers. Of course, those are people you want to put on your list. So thinking of that, when you're writing the book, I'm sure you all kind of know who your avatar or person is that's reading your book. So that is who you want to also get on your list. So who are those target readers? What age group are they in? How old is the mom or how old is the child that's reading your book, right? Of course, colleagues and community members and clients, if you have clients. Keep in mind that you'll benefit a lot more long-term if you have a team of ideal readers and prospects instead of just family and friends, right? Because if just your family and friends are helping you, then you don't really have your ideal readers reading your book and leaving your reviews, right? So you definitely want to get people that are your target demographic. Okay, so now here's a big question. What if nobody wants to be on your team? Well, lots of people thought this, right? But you have to think about who you already know. It's kind of like they always say, let's write down the top 100 people we know. And then you weed out those 100 people who would actually support my book launch or who would be interested in my book, right? So you can go through your phone, you can go through your email contacts, you can look through your social media. And I know with my social media, there's a certain amount of social media people that I actually know. And then there's some that I don't know. So it's kind of going through those people and figuring out, who will be on your launch team. And then think about where your biggest following is. Is it on LinkedIn? Is it on Instagram? Is it on Facebook? Maybe it's TikTok. Now TikTok's big, right? That could be on TikTok or any other platform. A lot of people are using Discord now. So Discord's another one. If you haven't heard of Discord, it's kind of like for gaming. It's a community type chat room. So this is where you want to choose which one is your biggest following. And then you want to let people know. And I know it's a little scary, but I'm sure Linda Hansen or anyone else who has their book already done that when it's time to release your book, you got to tell everyone, right? You got to let everyone know. So you got to tell them about your book and simply ask them and say, hey, I would love your support with my success. Join my launch team. And then here's when you want to reach out to them. So make sure you have your list way before in advance, but about 3 weeks before your official publication date, the date you're going to release your book, is when you want to start direct messaging people and sending them emails and sending them invites and targeting that opt-in or having them email you back that says that they'll join the team, right? So around 3 weeks before, because if you do it too far in advance, they're going to forget, right? Because we all have too many things going on. So about 3 weeks in advance is a good time to start. And then here's something you could do for your launch team. Now, this might not be for everyone on your list. It might only be for those specific 50 people or 100 people. It's kind of like a wedding invite list, right? So if you're going to have a wedding, only so many people come to the wedding, and then the rest of the people come to the reception, right? So you want to have something for those people on your wedding list that you can give them in return. So this can be a benefit. This can be a signed copy of your book, especially if you're doing an actual book signing party, then they can come. And because they bought your ebook, because I'm talking about an ebook launch here, because they bought your ebook and did the things that I'm going to show you the requirements that we want them to do for being on the book launch team, then, you can give them that signed copy. There might be some supplemental thing for your book, like a workbook or a coloring book or anything like that. You could give them. You could also give them something that doesn't cost you any money, right? Like you can give them a digital asset. So a free half-hour training, you reading the book, a video. There's lots of different things. April, I'm sure you have ideas for that.
Lots of great things that we can add for extras for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of nice having something digital because then you don't have to spend your time or your money. It doesn't cost you to buy the book or anything like that. But sometimes having a signed book is something that people want for sure. Okay, so using your team effectively. The biggest thing your launch team can do is read and review your book. So we don't want them to just buy the book on launch day. We want them to read it. We want them to open the Kindle app, scroll through and read the book, and then leave you a review. And the more people that open your book and read your book, then the more Amazon's going to push your ebook up higher on Amazon, right? And the more reviews you have, then the more it's going to put that up as well. So you definitely want to have lots of reviews and have people on the launch day open your book on their Kindle app and read it. And you might have advanced reader copies available, whether it's a PDF or an ebook, or you might actually have the physical book that you're sending out to people. But it would be good to have those so that you can have those reviews already ready. You still want them to go and put that review on Amazon, right? So team members can help with promoting your book. So kind of like a JV affiliate or a joint venture partner. If you have these people, it's not only that they are going to buy your book on launch day, but they're going to tell other people about it, right? Mm-hmm. So you definitely want to think about who do you know that knows a lot of people, because then they can be your joint venture partner and promote your book with you. You never know how much someone's willing to contribute unless you ask. So you always want to ask. And then you could also send them an online survey or questionnaire when you do gather those emails. If you want to, say something like, do you have a list of this amount of people, or kind of survey them about the different things that they can offer in this book launch, right? Who do they know that owns a bookstore? I mean, like a small bookshop, or who do they know that has a boutique, or who do they know that, there's so many entrepreneurs these days that know so many people, right? So finding those connections are key. And using your team effectively, you can also ask why they want to be a part of the team, if they have a specific skill that they're willing to help you with. Also, what kind of prizes they can give. So I did a book signing party and I had a lot of door prizes at my book signing party. And the door prizes were all donated. So asking people for incentives, or what can you give that can go along with my book or go for my book signing party, right? Of course, there's lots of influencers out there. So asking or direct messaging people on Instagram or TikTok, bloggers, podcasters, authors, YouTubers, it doesn't hurt to ask. So when you find someone that, connects with your book or that would have something in common with your book, then it never hurts to ask. They could post a blog about your book. They could talk about it. They could interview you on their podcast. There's so many ways, right, to get more people on your team. And you might end up with no additional help, even though you reached out to everyone. But just reaching out to them is giving awareness of your book.
How many sales can we expect from a launch team?
Yeah, so we've been doing this for 6 years or more. So I would say if you have 100 people on your launch team, it's really about getting that commitment from them and asking them, like, are you willing? So it's almost like making that spreadsheet and saying, these are the people who said yes. So it might be 50% of those people that actually buy. It depends on your list, right? Because sometimes you have a list where they're kind of wishy-washy, right? And sometimes you have a list where for a fact they're committed, they're going to buy the book, they're going to leave a review, and they're going to open it, right? Open the book. So it really depends, I would say. But I would say 50 to 90% if you have a committed team.
Michelle wants to know, she's going to be launching her book on Kickstarter. And she's wondering if the people that back her through Kickstarter will be able to leave a review for her.
Yeah, so they would have to buy the book on Amazon. There's two things with Amazon, and I have a slide later on. I don't know if we'll have time to get to it, but Amazon is really picky about who can leave a review. So if they bought the book through Kickstarter and not through Amazon, if it was an ebook, Amazon can just decide yes or no if they're going to accept their review. But if it was a paperback or hardback book, the best thing to do is have them hold the book and take a selfie and then post their review with that picture, because Amazon will see that it's a real person, that it's not a fake review, and that they actually did purchase the book, so they're holding it.
Yeah. The other thing that I've also done too is when I actually put the book on Amazon, I do like a free ebook day and make sure all of my Kickstarter folks know they can go grab that free ebook for themselves, which is an extra little bonus. And they're able to post a review because the Amazon shows them as purchasing, even though they're purchasing for $0, it ends up being a verified review. So that's another thing to consider as well for your Kickstarter folks.
Yes, very good idea.
Are you specifically focused around ebook for your book launch? Because many of my authors here are children's book authors, and they really want people to buy their hardcovers, right? So how does that change what you're doing with a launch team?
Sure. So the way we do it is we do a 99-cent promotion for launch day. Now, this could be similar to your Kindle Select free day, right? But we've also done ebook launches. The reason why we do it this way is because more people are willing to buy a $1 book or a $3 book, because a lot of your ebooks for children's books, Amazon doesn't allow you to do 99 cents because there's so many pictures. The file's too big, so they want it to be $2.99 or $3.99. So you're just discounting what the ebook would be so that more people will buy it. So Amazon has two different categories. They have a Kindle category and they have a book category. Now, eventually, like there is two bestseller lists, right? You got the book bestseller list and the ebook bestseller list. But when you get more sales on a book and you get sales on an ebook, it does push your rank up, your bestseller rank. So we've always done ebook launches just because it's a lot easier to ask someone. You know, for children's books, you're looking at $10 to $20, depending on, you know, a hardback or paperback, sometimes $30, depending on how many pages you have. But for an ebook, it can be $10, or you can reduce the price down on a launch day for $2.99, right? So similar to a nonfiction book, like we do a lot of nonfiction, we can have the ebook for $1 and the print book is $20 or $25. It's just a lot more attractive to get that 100 sales that you need on that day, or 150 sales. So it is possible. We've done book launches for a hardback. It's just you have to get that bigger commitment for them to buy the book on that day. Because how Amazon works is they're actually being really slow the last couple months, but usually they update the bestseller rank within 1 to 3 hours. So every 1 to 3 hours on Amazon, you can see who's selling the most books at one time. And so when you're looking at that bestseller, those bestsellers, you can see here's the book bestsellers, here's the Kindle bestsellers. And so that's where we want to be at the top of those lists, right? We want to be number 1 or in the top 10 of those lists. And so lately Amazon's being 2 or 3 days instead of 1 to 3 hours, but that's just Amazon's being slow lately. But that's kind of what our goal is, right? Is to be in that number 1 spot so that you can claim the title and take screenshots of the number 1 bestselling author. And if you have multiple categories in different countries like Australia, UK, Canada, then you can claim yourself as an international bestseller. So these are the simple things that we're going to ask our team to do. We're going to ask them to buy the book, whatever price that you're going to set it for. And maybe it's the promotion, the Kindle Select, so it's free. And then we're going to ask them to write the short review on Amazon. Yeah, reviews are just your social proof, because if you don't have reviews, then, you know, you're not going to get more sales, right? So we want to get more reviews. And the other thing about Amazon is if you get 50 to 100 reviews within the first 2 weeks of your book being out, they actually start promoting your book more. So I'm sure you've seen emails that'll say, you know, based on your purchases, I recommend you buy these books, right? I'm sure you've seen those Amazon emails that come through. So when you get lots of reviews, 50 to 100 within the first 2 weeks of your book release, Amazon will start promoting you and putting you in those emails. So we want to make sure we do that. And then, of course, spread the word about your book, and platforms, meaning where your ideal client is, whether it's Facebook, TikTok, all those different places. And then if we talked about offering something in return, we kind of already talked about that. And then remember that it's the little things. So, you know, give people time to review your book, like give them a deadline or a time. So when you're asking them to leave a review, you want to say within the first week, or by Friday, or have a specific date in your email of when you want them to leave that review. And then frequent communication always helps, whether you're texting them or emailing them. Just give them the expectations so that they know what to expect. So thank you for being on my launch team. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to email you the link on this day. You're going to buy the book. Then within a week, you're going to leave the review. And then, you know, I'm going to be communicating with you once a day. So don't think I'm being annoying, you know, however your style of writing is, right? You want to make sure you put that in your email and set that expectations early on so they know what to expect, and be very clear. And of course, you can create fun things to get them to participate. But I think with children's books, they're already fun. So that's awesome. Collaborators, colleagues, everyone wants to do someone a favor, right? And then 2 major triggers for your launch team are empathy and community. So those are 2 things to remember when you're writing your emails or when you're talking to people. So definitely build your team right away, communicate with them regularly, and then ask them to do those 3 things. I guess it's 4 things. Buy the book, read the book, review the book, and share the link.
Do you find it's helpful to have like a little Facebook group for your launch team and, kind of keep them engaged? Or do you usually do just an email to them? What's your preferred method?
Yeah, so it really depends on the readers and the book, right? Because some people just aren't on Facebook that often, right? So you want to just do emails and texts. But some people who are on Facebook, if your target readers are on Facebook, then having a Facebook group and a community there is really good because it's a lot of back and forth, right? Or even like TikTok, because there's lots of commenting on TikTok. So you can be replying and talking to people back and forth. But definitely have some type of platform, whether it's just through email or text or through Facebook group. Facebook groups is really easy. It's just really simple to post something, and it's really simple to message everyone in the group by direct message.
Right.
And it's also simple for people to reply. So a private Facebook group is what a lot of people will do. But if you want to make it public, of course, you can make it public.
You mentioned empathy and community. I just want, if you could, to expand on what you mean. And did you meant in your emails when you reach out to your launch team?
In your emails and just in your communication. So, asking people for a favor, most people want to do you a favor, right? So just in your communication and your words that you use, a lot of you already have some people that follow you or you kind of have a community or a tribe, so to say. And so using the language that you already use and just keeping that in mind when you're writing your emails and keeping your community, in check with who you are as a person, what your book's about. Does that make sense?
So I think you're saying be authentic to yourself and what people already like about you. Yeah,
exactly.
So Lori's asking, how soon after the ebook launch do you recommend launching the paperback or hardcover?
Yeah, so it really just depends on your book. So with our nonfiction books, with our 99-cent campaigns, we usually do the ebook by itself. And then we launch the hardback or paperback 2 days to a week later. And the purpose of that is so that people won't buy the hardback or paperback because we're trying to get the Kindle category to rank. Does that make sense? So we're not releasing that. And so we'll let people know it's going to come out, within a week. We just say within a week because, when you're publishing on Amazon, sometimes it can be tricky. So you think it's going to be live in 24 hours and it's 48, right? So I just let them know within a week. And that way they're only buying the ebook on launch day, right? Because there is no other option. We have done book launches before where both of them are out, but with children's books, like you guys, sure you guys know, and I'm the same way. I really do want the hardback or paperback copy because I would want to hold it in my hand and hold it for my kids to see, right? Ebooks are also great. And if it's formatted correctly and it looks great on the e-reader, then it's fun to have the ebooks too, because your kids can just open the Kindle and read it.
Mary's saying that she's been on dozens of launch teams and the book has always been provided for free. So that's the approach that I was talking about, where it's
with the Kindle.
An ebook, like the free ebook.
Kindle Select.
Now that I'm thinking about it and you're talking about it, when you do that and you have your launch team get a free ebook and give you a review, you get the benefit of the reviews, sure, but you're not ranking that ebook. It's not going to become a bestseller or get that bestseller badge as an ebook, which can help you drive more sales and more engagement from Amazon. And you're not as likely to get that many sales on a $17 hardcover book or even a $12 paperback as you would having your launch team purchase a $1.99, $2.99 book, which you can get more people doing that. And the whole goal here, from what I'm understanding, Jenn, is to get you ranked as a bestseller right out of the gate.
Yes, that is the goal. So the main goal for what we do is helping people become bestseller because we want them to rank number one on Amazon in their category. Now, that being said, Amazon, when you publish your Kindle book, will give you 2 categories. Mm-hmm. And those are pretty general categories. They're not like narrowed down categories. And so what we do is you can request Kindle categories through your KDP account by contacting Amazon. And we actually choose categories in multiple countries. Amazon will allow you to choose up to 10 categories. Now, they don't tell you that because they only give you the 2, right? Mm-hmm. But you can choose 2 when you're publishing the book, but then they actually can give you 8 more categories. And so what we like to do is choose 8 more categories in the Amazon.com. Mm-hmm. We choose 10 categories in Amazon.uk and 10 categories in Amazon.canada.ca and also in Australia. Now, you can choose other countries if you have people in those countries. When you're on your KDP Amazon account and you've published your ebook, you can see all the countries listed right there of where they're being sold. So maybe you have people in Japan, maybe you have people in Denmark or Germany, there's the other countries that are listed there. But what we like to do is put those categories on all of those countries because that way you're in more places. So in other words, if I'm in Canada and I go to your book and you only have 2 categories and I'm browsing one of those categories, I might see your book. But if I'm browsing a different category and you're in that one too, then it's like your book is in more places on Amazon. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Lots less competition in some of those extra categories.
Yes.
I do a lot with my students with the keyword and category analysis and trying to find those that are the least competitive, where you have very still highly relevant to your book, but much less competitive than those huge categories that are offered when you pick those 2.
Yes. And I always make the joke that we're not going to put your book in basket weaving, but you might have a children's book about basket weaving. So you might want to put it in that category.
Right.
You definitely want to choose categories that are relevant to your book.
Okay. So Mary had one follow-up too. I've heard that it's better to have sales spread out on Amazon rather than all on the launch day. What is your thought on that, Jenn?
We definitely like to start our ebook release with a big launch day and getting those 50 to 100 sales so that we can get those 50 to 100 reviews within the first 2 weeks. But you definitely want to keep that momentum and spread out the sales for sure. And that's by the follow-up campaign, kind of that momentum. I don't know if you guys were all here when Linda was asking how to keep the momentum, but that's what comes after the launch day, right? Mm-hmm. So getting the reviews, talking about the book, that's when your podcast tour starts and you go on all the podcasts and radio shows. That's when you're actually promoting the book, going to the bookstores, the mom and pop stores, giving them your book sheet, your media kit that April was talking about earlier. You're getting the orders when that all happens. So it's like keeping that momentum so that you don't have that spike in sales on the first day and then don't have any more sales, right? That's not what we want. But we do want to hit that bestseller list and then continue on with the promotions of the book so that you can get more sales continually.
Valerie's asking, does number 1 bestseller ebook have the same prestige as number 1 paperback ranking?
It's the same. I mean, they're 2 different lists, but you're still a number 1 bestseller on Amazon. It's the same as I have the Wall Street Journal title. And that is, we were top 5 of the Wall Street Journal list. And I think we were actually only the top 25 of the USA Today list because every list is different. The New York Times list is an editorial review. So you can pay people to actually get you on the New York Times list by selling the right amount of books within the 2-week period, but they might not choose you to be on the list because they have like a board that reviews everybody and decides. So if you don't know someone who knows someone, you might not get on it. And that's how Wall Street Journal and USA Today aren't like that as much. And Wall Street Journal and USA Today both have an ebook, the same categories. They have an ebook category and a book category. So it is the same. It's really just the title. And some people don't care about the title. A lot of people are like, well, it doesn't matter to me if I'm bestseller on Amazon. And that's okay. But for, most of the nonfiction authors that we work with, they want to be speakers and trainers. So they want to be introduced as a best-selling author. And as children's book authors, it is a lot nicer to be saying, when they introduce you on a podcast or radio show, that you're a bestseller, right?
That's a good transition to Joe's question. He says, can we call ourselves a best-selling author, even if it's only an obscure category?
Yes. So this is how we look at it. I mean, a lot of people look at it a different way. So we look at it as if we are in number one in that category and we screenshotted it and have the proof, then you are a bestseller. Some people will even go as far as saying the top 10, but we always do number one, because when you're looking at your bestseller rank and you see number one, Amazon shows 3 categories usually when you have a Kindle book. And so having those 3 number ones there, that's the proof, right? You did hit bestseller in those categories. And a lot of times, depending on the category, if you understand bestseller rank, some people will argue, well, I saw their bestseller rank and they were number 5,500, but that's 5,500 out of millions and millions of books on Amazon. So you're still number one in that category. You're still a bestseller in that children's category.
Question from Marina. Do the categories in different countries match, or are they different?
They don't match. And that is where it gets frustrating. So when you're picking your categories, you think you have the best ones for the US, and then you go to Canada and they don't even have that category, but they have a different one that you were like, oh, I wish they had that in the US, right? Mm-hmm. So unfortunately, they don't match up. And a lot of the reason is just because they're different people, right? The people in Australia think a little bit different than we do in the US. The people in Canada think a little bit different. So their categories, they've changed depending on, I guess, their interests. I don't really know how they chose them. The key to a successful book launch team is to keep everyone connected, right? So whether you're using Facebook posts or Instagram posts or your email list, you want to definitely keep in contact with them and keep connected. And that's where that momentum comes in after the launch, right? Is keep talking to them about it. Mm-hmm. So here's an example. So 3 weeks before the launch, you can say, my book is coming soon. And you can say why you wrote the book. You can share tidbits. You can have a post about it, or you can actually do a Facebook Live if you're brave. You can do a Facebook Live or an Instagram Live or a TikTok and talk about it. 2 weeks before the launch, then you want to give out your launch date. And you could even say, I'm going to give you a sneak peek and read parts of your book, right? Or show pictures. And then a week before the launch, then you want to let people know, next week is the big week. And my goal is to get number one on Amazon, and I can't do it alone. So, I want your help. And then that's when you start sharing your story and you can talk about your publishing journey. You can talk about how you came up with the characters. There's so many things you can talk about on social media, right? Because we all know there's a lot to publishing a book, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And then continuing on for 3 days before the launch, you want to ask, can I count on you? And give them more information about the bonus that you're going to give them, right? A day before the launch, you want to let them know today's the day. Let's hit number one together. I can only do this with your help, and then you can have the prizes if you have prizes that you want to give out. And then, of course, book launch day, you want to let people know that you personally, like a lot of times authors forget that they can go buy their own book. So you got to remember to buy your own book and let everyone know, I just bought my copy. Now it's time for you to go buy yours. You share your Amazon link everywhere you can on social media, right? And then you kind of keep up. If you're doing the launch formula like we do, where it's one day, you can actually be on Facebook a couple times and let them know, like, hey, everyone, we're number 4. If you help me reach number 1, we just need a few more sales, like go in and buy more, right? So we've actually had an author who did a book launch party at her house. So she had physical people at her house, and she made sure that they had the Kindle app downloaded, that they knew how to buy the book. And Kindle is really picky, so you actually can't buy the book through the Kindle app. You have to go on a browser and buy the book. So she had them all trained on how they were going to buy the book. And she just did like a 2-hour party, and everyone went and bought the book. And then she showed them how to open it, because a lot of people don't know how to open their Kindle book, right? And then they did some Facebook Lives, and they talked about what was going on, and they showed the party and the hors d'oeuvres or whatever was going on. They had the physical books there so people could see them. And, she talked to people about, having give their oral testimony or their oral review of the book. So it was really fun, and it just kind of gives that momentum. And that kind of a thing you want to be showing everyone on your social media, not just your private group. Here's an email template that we give. I'm sure April has some email templates, but it's pretty much letting them know what to do. So this simple thing, right?
Would you be able to share these slides for me so that I can also make them available for people? That would be wonderful.
Sure. Here's a really great email that one of our authors, Bob Brantner, he's actually a fiction writer. He has a really good book that just came out called Sky Heist, if you like thrillers. And it's an audiobook too, for those of you who don't have time like me. So you can go listen to it. But here's one that he did. So he just kind of, he talks to his people a lot because this is his fourth book. So he has paragraphs, right? Instead of bullet points. You can see on that last email, it was very, bullet pointy and simple. And this one's more, he's used to talking a lot on to his people, right? So he let them know the website's up. They can get the first 3 chapters, all that. And nice. Yeah, I'll share the slides with you. Here's another one. You can see this was April 4th. So that was a few weeks before. Here was April 12th and then the 18th. So you can look at these and see, but it's pretty much telling them what to do, right? And then the launch was April 25th. And then here's the day. Today's the day. The books are all about aviation. So he says the rubber hits the runway, right? So, he has that voice. And then here's where the last email, the day after the launch, actually 2 days after the launch, to say, hey, thank you so much for helping me out, right? We hit number 1. Now the hard copy is going to be coming out. We crushed it. So definitely remember to thank your people after. We talked a little bit about the live events. So if you haven't done a live on Facebook, it's really simple. YouTube also has lives if you have a YouTube audience. Instagram also has live if you have an Instagram. If you want to get really technical, StreamYard is a really cool way to do live videos. And if you pay for the premium of StreamYard, you can stream on Facebook. I think it's Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube all at the same time.
That's cool.
So, and
I love StreamYard. Yeah, they're awesome. That's been really great. And
people can be asking questions in the comments and it shows up on StreamYard. Like it's really cool. Mm-hmm. So StreamYard is a fun way to do it, or just doing the simple lives or just the posts, right? If you don't feel comfortable doing a live. I had one author, she actually did a children's book series about 5 years ago called Sarah and the Elementals. And she ended up not doing lives herself, but she videoed her nieces and nephews reading her books.
Nice.
And of course, she got permission from her sister first, right? But, that's another idea. If you don't want to be on camera, think about who do you know that would be willing to be on camera, right?
The other thing I tell with my author work group is I've got a small group that you can practice going live. Just go into my group and do it. It's just a small group of your fellow students who are there to share and get more comfortable on video and do other things. So use that or create a small group of your own and practice. Even if you're the only member of that group, you can practice and see how you're doing and delete it if you don't like it, and just gives you an opportunity to not, have a little practice session before you officially go live.
Yes, that's a great way to do it. And I always say, there's a few times when we'll go live, like my business partner and I will go live, and we only have 1 or 2, maybe even 5 viewers. And that's okay, because what happens on Facebook is if people didn't see you when you were live, it stays there and it shows multiple times over and over, and you can see the video views. So we might have only had 5 people seeing us live, but then a day later, it shows we had 1,500 views, right? So I think that it's important to know that it's okay if people aren't there watching you live. It's not a disappointment or a failure. It's still going to be on Facebook, and you got to share your story or talk about your book. So it's good. Of course, if you are going to do a live, I know a lot of people who announce it first. So they let people know, I'm going to be on at this time. And then you get people to come. So you do have the activity going on while you're there, right?
Yeah. What I love too about going live is anybody that's connected with you will get a notice that you're going live. So it's kind of cool because it gives them a little reminder. And if they haven't seen, your announcement that you're going live, curiosity might get them to just go, oh, I wonder what Bobby's talking about today. It's close to her book launch. Maybe I'll check out that live. So it's kind of cool that you get that little bit of extra help to guide people over, where you wouldn't have that if you were just video recording yourself and posting it. You don't have that live engagement.
And then, of course, you can always make it fun and entertaining. And if you don't have ideas, I'm telling you, if you just go on TikTok and put in the hashtag book or book launch, you're going to get lots of ideas, right? Wow. You definitely will. So definitely on Facebook and Instagram, you can talk about, why you wrote the book, because you don't have to only talk about your book and your characters, right? You could also talk about your journey. You could talk about how it came about, talk about your illustrator, talk about, the way that you created the book, right? You can do the Q&A. That's always really good. If there isn't people there, I always think of, well, what are the top 10 questions that people would ask about my book? And just answer them, whether people are asking you or not, right? That's good content of what to say. What are the top, 5 questions? And you might have certain questions that people always ask about your book, but what about the should ask questions, right? Like people are asking you, how did you come up with the story of this? But they should be asking why you came up with the story of this or something. You know what I mean? There's always that should ask question that you can switch the questions around. Of course, you can read excerpts of your book. I had an author who actually did an interview style. So he had someone asking him the questions and he read excerpts from the book as well as answered questions about, the character development and all the different things. And he turned the whole interview series, which was only, I think, 5 interviews, 5 one-hour interviews. He turned it into a podcast and put it on YouTube. So there's lots of ways to do it, right? Of course, you want to have a call to action when you're doing a live. And that call to action is to go buy the book and leave a review. And if the book is in pre-launch or it's not released yet, then you let them know that release date, or you say coming in April if you don't have the exact date, right? You just let them know so they have that call to action. You definitely want to have a call to action. And then, of course, you can post the link if it's during your launch. And usually in the comments is the best to post it. Facebook and Instagram don't really like links in the actual text. So adding it in the comments and saying the links in the comments is a really easy way to do it.
I have a question about promotion. Do you incorporate promo sites or anything during this book launch process? Like the Fussy Librarian, BookBub, or anything like that? Yeah,
so there's lots of them out there that you can use. We've done it for some authors. It really just depends on your launch team. Like if your launch team is pretty low and you feel like you're not going to get that many book buys on your release day, then, you might want to look at doing BookBub or any of those other ones. I always post in groups on Facebook. So it's fun to join a bunch of groups on Facebook. There's so many free groups on Facebook that's like promote your children's ebook, free ebooks, 99-cent ebooks. Like search up those groups on Facebook and join them. And you'll see that they are posting different book launches every day. And there's a lot of readers in those groups, right? Because they want to get the cheap books, right? So it's not just authors promoting the books. It's also readers who are looking for the dollar books because they want to only buy the children's books that are the cheaper books, right? Or the free ones.
Right. I would love to hear more about the Wall Street Journal and, some of those other, what extra things you need to do to get on that list.
Yeah. So
as part of your book launch.
Sure. The Wall Street Journal list, I believe, is 10,000 books in a week period. So that being an ebook or a hardback. So really the strategy of that is just making sure you have those book buys. So, we actually used a gentleman who helped to make that happen. And so he has, lots of people that are on board for buying books. So it's really about organizing the 10,000 sales, right? That's the same with the New York Times. The people who say they can get you on New York Times, they're organizing the sales. If you look at the big dogs like Tony Robbins and all those guys who every single book, and Russell Brunson, the ClickFunnels guy, like all of his books are New York Times. And I believe those are 20,000 books in a 2-week period is what I think the New York Times is. But New York Times, I think, is hardback only. I don't believe that they have an ebook or paperback option, but they have a way to become New York Times every time because they're doing a ClickFunnels campaign or they're doing, they have tons of multi-level companies that are buying their books, right? So think about that though, for your launch, like who do you know that has an audience already of over 100,000 people? Who has an audience of 100,000 people? Maybe your book has something to do with some MLM company. I mean, not the actual book, but maybe it's about health or wellness. Think of all the multi-level companies you know of and what their products and services are. And does your book align with that? Right. But that's how they're getting the New York Times is they already have the 20,000 sales predetermined who's going to be buying those. Right. Okay. So that's a huge book launch. Yes. And then of course, there's the organic way, right? Like sometimes books just are amazing, like, J.K. Rowling's and everyone loved him and went and bought him and the word of mouth advertising just went crazy. And that happens too. And that can happen for your book too. But just know that's not everyone is organic, right? Yeah. Not everyone who's hitting those lists are doing it organically.
This might be a silly question, but you mentioned something about how Facebook doesn't like when you put links in your actual post. That
So Instagram got really mad at me a couple months ago, and I'm doing a Kickstarter launch in the next like month and a half, probably late March, early April. And I really don't want social media to get mad at me again, because I don't want my accounts to even risk my accounts getting disabled when I need them most.
Yes.
So the best thing to do is put links in the comments. And just write.
On Instagram, I actually say link in my bio. Because that's kind of how Instagram likes you to do it. And on Instagram, you have your little bio there, and the last thing can be your URL. And so I think they give you an actual website area that you can put your website in. So that could be, the exact link to go buy the book, or it could be your landing page for your website. I've also seen where people will do a link tree. I don't know if you've seen Linktree,
yes.
But Linktree you can have multiple links. So you just put your book link at the very top and then have your website or your other social media after that. And Facebook, the reason why they don't want you to put the link in the post is because they want people to stay on Facebook. They don't want them to click off and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So you can still put it in the post. Like when I share on like the 99-cent groups, I usually keep it in the post. But sometimes I will put it in the comment and not have it in the post. It's just that Facebook will show more people if it doesn't have a link. Does that make sense? Because, Facebook shows your friends, and then they show your friends of friends, or they'll show the people in the group because they want people to stay on Facebook.
I really appreciate everything that you've done and shared with us today. This has been just a great look at a different approach than I've used in the past. So I'm actually looking forward to try this with a couple of people and see how that works. Thank you again for joining us. And I'll get those slides from you, and I'll make sure that we post that for others.
Perfect. And then I just wanted to share my last slide with you guys, because April is actually featured on our publishing summit that's coming up next week. So I just wanted to share that with you, and April can give you the link to go and join.
Yes, we have an amazing summit. I will let Jenn talk about it a little bit. And, feel free to talk about how others can get in touch with you, because a lot of people, I think, going through this presentation are going to want to follow up and work with you on other things as well.
Sure. Yeah. So we are having a publishing summit next week. It starts on the 24th, and it is free. You just have to sign up, and you'll get the links to go in and watch all of the interviews. So we have around 6 to 7 interviews each day, and it goes for 4 days. So if you don't have the time to watch them live through the days, there is an option where you can buy the videos and watch them whenever you want. But just know it's free to go and join, and you can check it out. We have some really great speakers, and we're all going to be talking about publishing. So of course, there's lots of topics in the topics of publishing. So we're going to be talking about the future of publishing. We're going to be talking about NFTs. If you don't know what an NFT is, it's the digital pictures that they're selling for tons of money on OpenSea and other places. Lots of people are selling NFTs, and Mark Cuban's one of those. So Mark Cuban is going to be talking on our summit, as well as a few other really great speakers, and like April. So she's going to be talking as well. So you can join that, and feel free to reach out to me. I'm at eliteonlinepublishing.com. And you can reach out there or through April. She has our contact information too.
Thank you so much, Jenn. This has been really informative.
Great. I'll send you those slides.
Thank you. I appreciate
as well
that.
as we do have a video training course of this exact thing. If you want me to send you the link to that too.
That'd be wonderful.
I could make it free for them if you want, or give a coupon code.
Yeah, thanks. That's wonderful.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
Talk to you
Have
soon.
a good night.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.